So one of the key things that when you're, if you're not a developer and you don't know anything about these things, is
Mm.
the question: Am I getting the right price?
Yeah.
So how can you check whether what you're getting from a dev shop is right?
Yeah, so the pricing is always a very tricky thing because people a lot of times when they look at the price, they look at just the hourly rate, which is a totally wrong way to do it. Hourly rate really doesn't tell you the whole story because someone else charging you, taking to an extreme example, someone charging you $20 an hour versus someone charging you $150 an hour. Does it tell you which one gives you a better price? No, because you don't know how much time it's going to take them to finish the project, right? So the more important question to ask is how much how much money is it going to take to finish the whole product? That's number one, because that's what you end up paying, not per hour, but the whole cost of it. Um, Now, in terms of the pricing, obviously, from a business standpoint, it's about quality and speed and price. Price and speed is the same in the sense that if they charge you by time, then the faster they go, the less price you pay. And the quality is also kind of the inverse of speed in the sense that usually with high quality, you kind of have to sacrifice some speed because you cannot just cut corners on things. But so if you look at those factors, you have to essentially look at the whole thing. Because if you think I'm getting a good price, but the quality is suffering and you don't know it because you're not a technical person, later on when you try to add more things to it, it becomes harder. And then those savings that you got from the previous dealing, they are lost because now you have to spend more money and time to build the new features. So you have to look at the whole thing in totality and to know whether you're getting the best price or not. I would even say don't even focus on whether you're getting the best price or not, but looking at to see if you're getting the best how do I call it, like the best value or not. So in a sense, the value is not about just the price component because the price component itself is just very hard to measure. Because how fast can I develop on this, right? What is the technology am I using? Am I using the right? If it's all these factors, there's so many different factors. If they pick the wrong technology, they could spend more time to do it. It could make it harder for you to hire people to do it. All those are side effects of something that has to be factored into the final price that you, right? So for the best price, you have to consider the whole thing, like the technology that you pick, how easy it is for you to get someone else to maintain it later, how easy it is for you to add more features and iterate through the products. All those things play into that so-called price, right? The cost of developing something. And so to really get the best price is to, again, going back to the fundamentals, get recommendations from a company, not on what they know. They may not know certain things, but they should be sort of really good and honest, but also broad in their knowledge, so they know to pick the best tool for you. Their speed is important, so you can ask them how long it's going to take for something, and also obviously the sort of final cost they want to charge you for the project, right? You have to factor all that in, not just looking at one component. And then you can go through that. Again, it's not an easy process, but you can take all that data, write that down, and compare that with every single thing, and compare that in totality. It cannot just be on looking at just one number. You won't get the big picture.
And that's a very difficult thing because it's always going back to trust. And when somebody explains to me, here's why I'm using this technology, et cetera,
Yeah.
If I'm not an expert, I'm not going to understand anything, nor do I have the time to figure it out. So do I ask to compare bids by other companies? And then I would have the issue if they're picking different technologies. How will I understand which one is better and why?
Yeah.
It's like I wish there was independent consultants,
Yeah.
help non-technical people figure out who to hire in order to execute technical projects.
Yeah, this actually could be a very good service idea, right, for companies to provide a service. But for any company that is doing it without having a platform to provide that service, what they can do is they can start with a small project to test it out, because obviously they have not used that before, but that's why they have all these questions, right? Small project, you can give it out to one developer or maybe even two developers that you really like, have them do it, and then you can get the third developer to come in and then give you opinions on those two, right? So that there are a couple of ways that we can do this. Either you get one project, one company, and you get another company to come in and audit their work. and see if you can get kind of opinions on that. That gives you a second pair of eyes, right, on things, on the quality and everything. Second thing is you can also get another company, give them that small project, and then also see what is the outcome of that. Again, get independent auditor to look at the work, and then to give you the proper assessment. It costs you a little bit of money upfront, but it's small project, so you still contain, right? You can still contain it within maybe $1,000 or $2,000, a small project. But at the end of the day, at least you can figure out the strengths and of these two, and then you can go with that one person, for all future projects. It's never a cheap process to find the right person, because maybe those two are not even the best. Maybe there's a third one, right? So again, you have to rely on track records of the past projects, how much it cost them to work on those projects, get some data from them. Like, how much did it cost you to create this? What did you do for them? All that past historic data. Those are important for you to look into as well. And then you can take those data and then show it to other people and say, if you were to do the same project, how much would you have quoted that same project? So gather those data, but again, always get another pair of eyes to provide a second opinion, because that can ensure that you get additional opinion that is much more objective.
And I guess a couple of ways to do that. It could be that you have a contract that's on a weekly basis. I review the work done and I decide to continue or not, and then you can hire somebody on Upwork or whatever. Can you take a look at this one? It took 1 week. Is that fair? How much would it cost? And if you see any discrepancies, maybe you pause or reevaluate. So there, the issue would be many dev shops, especially the better ones, they probably don't take work. That's a very small project, like $2,000 or a week-long project. How would you handle that? Because you do want to work with the better dev shops. What's the flexibility? Are they understanding when you're a first-time customer? How does it work?
Yeah. So your idea of the whole being able to go and pause and go, seeing results on a weekly basis, that's super important, right? You don't really want to give them a chunk of money and not see results 2 months later. And by that time, it's just very hard for you to tweak. In terms of them giving you not willing to spend more than a certain amount of money, that you have to dig into it and figure out why. Is it because of the overhead? They have to be transparent enough to tell you, I personally like to work on a very transparent manner, in a sense that if the client were to tell us our operating costs, we can tell them this is our operating costs and this is how much we sort of make profit-wise. So we can adjust that based on the client needs. Not every company is willing to go that length with the transparency. But if they're not willing to work on a project at a certain fee, maybe they're not right for you. Maybe they have a reason. Dig into it and figure out why, and then figure out if there's a way to, because your project may be big enough for them to take on. It's just an initial phase. So maybe it's figuring out how to work together, right? Especially in the COVID-19 sort of, era, I think there's going to be a lot more smaller budget, but, people is going to aim for a small budget, but higher volume, rather than before where you can aim on just higher budget, but smaller volume. I think because of the spend and the budget constraints for a lot of companies, the trend is going to move the other way.
Great. No, that's a good takeaway with breaking it up and pausing and auditing and making sure that everybody's honest. But going with a transparent and open company from the get-go solves a lot of the problems.
Yeah. And then always, if you have doubts, getting another pair of eyes to provide you with feedback on the direction, on the tech, that can only help. And the amount of money that you spend on that is very minimal to get a second pair of eyes. Yeah.
And how would you get a second pair of eyes? Would you go on Upwork or another dev shop and ask them for an audit review?
Yeah, I would say that if there's not already a platform that can provide that sort of service, get another consulting company that has done similar profile, that has done good projects, and ask them for help. Right? Say, hey, are you willing to provide us with this help to to vet the company that we are working with on this, and see if they're willing to help. Companies that are there to try to deliver value, they would not mind doing it. Okay. So you just have to find the right person. Yeah.